Welcome to the Sisterhood of Limitless Living podcast. I'm your host, Dr. April Moreno. My background is in public health informatics, and I'm here along this journey of living with autoimmune, just like other women, and we are known as the autoimmune community of multicultural women thriving. I hope you enjoy our episode with you today. Let's get started. Hello, Sisterhood. Thank you for joining us today for this special episode about the COVID-19 vaccine and the autoimmune community. This is our first bilingual episode, so I'm just gonna greet you all. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotras, las hermanas, la Limitless Living, the Sisterhood of Limitless Living. Hermanas, gracias por estar aquí con nosotros para escuchar acerca del tema de la vacuna y las cosas importantes acerca de ponerse la vacuna, especialmente cuando tienes enfermedades autoinmunes, tomando las medicinas, immunosuppressants, disease-modifying drugs, DMTs, que cambian progreso de enfermedad. Espero que haga más episodios en inglés y español. I hope to do more bilingual episodes. Estoy aprendiendo más español. I've been taking classes with Spanish Sin Pena. It's a wonderful program if any of you is interested in kind of building up your Spanish experience, especially if you're part of the community and have had, due to various cultural factors, migration and environmental social issues, have had to relearn or have had to learn Spanish outside of the family. Spanish Sin Pena has been a wonderful experience. Y por eso tengo menos vergüenza de hablar en español. So I'm really grateful for Spanish Sin Pena. So in this episode, I am speaking to Marilena Grittani, who is a clinical pharmacist, and she's going to be sharing with us about the importance of the vaccine and how we need to support our immunocompromised and even our multicultural communities. So Marilena, she is known as the legal drug dealer, and she has her own podcast with that name. She also has an Instagram and website presence in Spanish called Controlando Tu Propia Salud, and she is available at that website, thelegaldrugdealer.com, and on Instagram, Controlando Tu Propia Salud. I hope you enjoy this episode. It is a really important one, and I can't stress enough the importance of the fact that we did this episode bilingually because of the fact that in the Latinx community, regardless of whether we are immunocompromised or not, we have seen such devastation in our families. In my family alone, in my husband's family, we've seen so many people afflicted by COVID. We've seen 2-3 deaths in the family. And this is something that we've seen in the Latinx community disproportionately, and also in the African American community. So this episode is to provide communication and special encouragement to those who have not, prior to today, been contemplating getting the vaccine for whatever reasons, having had some concerns and having heard information from external sources. It's really important to consider what's going on in terms of the science and to consider the advice of the medical community. This is a serious pandemic, and so many of us, people of color, have been disproportionately harmed by infection of COVID-19. So I highly encourage you to listen to this episode. If you are part of the Sisterhood of Limitless Living, if you are immunocompromised or not, and if you have family members who have been discouraging others, who have felt discouraged from getting the vaccine, please share this episode. This is a matter of serious consequence worldwide during this pandemic. So please share this information. And thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you for joining us at the Sisterhood of Limitless Living podcast. Today, we're talking about a really important topic during this time of the pandemic. We're talking about vaccine education and awareness. There's a huge need for vaccine education and increasing people's participation in vaccine usage. And we see the huge disparity in the African American and the Latinx population. And then there's even more concern and more fear as it relates to the autoimmune community as well, which we work with here in the Sisterhood of Limitless Living podcast. And this is our community. So today we're going to be talking about the importance of the vaccine during the pandemic. And we have a very special guest today. Her name is Marilena Grittani, and she is a clinical pharmacist. She's also known as the legal drug dealer.
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome, Marilena. Please tell us more about you and your background.
Absolutely. Thank you, April, for having me. It is a pleasure and an honor. I feel the obligation as a Latina girl myself that I need to educate my community because we are one of the communities that have been hit hardest by this virus, and the circumstances are defined precisely for our community to be affected. So we need to talk about it. We need to answer questions, and no stigma, no traditions. I understand that before things were not that good for us and the African American community, but things have changed and we need to move on and we need to protect ourselves. So that's what I'm here to do. As you said, I'm a clinical pharmacist, originally graduated in my country in Venezuela about 27 years ago. Since then, I've been practicing not only in retail pharmacy, which is the pharmacy that you go to pick up your prescriptions, but also in hospitals where I have worked hand to hand with physicians and nurses. And I know it's a little bit weird to say this, but my favorite place is the ER. I love the rush and the adrenaline. And I really like to be able to help the team with medications to resolve issues with patients so they can move on and get better. So yeah, I have had a lot of experience and I'm here just to share what I know to help others that might need it because we're pretty healthy at home. So you ask and I will answer.
Thanks so much for joining us today. And so the first question in this conversation that I had for you is talk to us about the importance of vaccines in the Latinx community. What have you seen with regard to resistance to the vaccine so far culturally?
Well, this is what happened. The mentality is that 60, 80 years ago, we Latins and African American communities were used as part of the research, to put it in words that are not offensive, because I refuse to say those words, but everybody knows what I'm saying. So, and probably that happened. I do not know. I wasn't alive then, but I don't doubt it. What I need to say today is that this scientific community have changed, and there is no doubt that we are focused on our patients. It doesn't matter what skin color they have, what language they speak, and what culture and traditions they have. In my particular case, I have been representing our community the best that I can. I have enforced the respect that we deserve. And I have to say that recently, in the past 10 years, things have changed drastically. So that fear that we had, and I spoke several, and 2 or 3 podcasts already that are oriented to the African American community, and I do understand their concerns, and I'm not dismissing any of that, but I'm here to tell you that these things have changed. And there is good news for us because now for the vaccines research, they're including not only Latinos, but also African American communities. So that means that I see us in the research that I read when they give me the results of how it behaved with certain people in different races and different countries, which is also good, in relation to efficacy of the vaccine, which means how good it is to protect us. So the problem now is for us to believe and to trust. And that's what I'm here to do, to tell you that you can trust if you go to my Instagram, whether if it's in Spanish or English, because I have 2, I say exactly the same, just one in Spanish and the other one in English. You would see that I have 2 photographs, one on the 30th of December, that I had the needle in my arm getting my first dose of the Pfizer vaccine. And on the 20th of January, I took my photo with the 2 fingers, because that's how you say that you got the second dose. So I'm very proud to say that I got it, that I'm protected. And now I'm going to be a volunteer to actually vaccinate patients. My only request is to vaccinate Spanish speaking communities, because I don't want a translator. I don't want anybody to have a second person telling them what it is. I want to talk to them and explain and answer any questions or concerns that they might have before I vaccinate them. Plus, I just fold them a little bit in los sobo in the arm so they don't have that much pain.
I love that. I love the fact that you're very dedicated specifically to working with Spanish speaking communities, that you're dedicated to educating and encouraging the Latinx population to get the vaccine. Please tell us a little bit more about some of the cultural context, like as you're going to be speaking and working with these communities, speaking to them in Spanish. What types of concerns, what types of conversations do you think will emerge when they come for their vaccine?
Well, I have to say that I spent 4 weeks ago answering questions about the virus in general and about the vaccine because there was a lot of questions coming to me from my podcast and my Instagram communities and family members. But unfortunately, my family have had 14 members that have the virus. They all live in Spain. And you know that Spain was hit really, really bad by this disease, and they're in different cities, but still all of them got it. And that was what motivated me to learn more about this. As a pharmacist, we know about the drug, and we study everything related to the vaccine because it's a prescription one, and we are the ones that had to regulate that. And of course, any questions that are coming from any part of the medical team, whether it's a nurse or a doctor, we are there to educate them. That's why you have to be the first one in learning all that. But because I studied the other side of it, the research, every step that they took, I consider myself very knowledgeable about it because I was like them. I did not believe that the vaccine, the vacuna, I was going to say, the vaccine was safe because it was created too fast.
Mm-hmm.
And that is mainly the main question that I have. Why is it so fast?
Mm-hmm.
Before, a vaccine would take between 4, 5 to 10 years to be developed. And then all of a sudden, in less than 10 months, we have it. So the answer that I give people to explain this is that when I went to school, elementary school, and the teacher gave me an assignment, I had to tell my parents that they needed to drive me to the library. So I had to walk to the library, ask the librarian for this topic that I needed to research. She would guide me and give me 4, 5, 6 books. I had to read a bunch of them and then come up with the answers from my assignment. These days, you grab this, and I'm pointing out my cell phone, and you get the answers right there. And that amount of time that you saved is called thanks to technology. Same thing is happening with the vaccine. And I just want to explain this really quick. What happened in China, in Wuhan, when they detected this virus originally, they did what it is like a scan of the virus itself. And they got like the blueprint with every single detail of it. And they spread it to the world. And they said, we have a lot of people that are dying. Anybody that could help, please pitch in. Normally, when companies are researching vaccines or any other drugs, they keep everything secret because they want to be the first ones doing it to make the money. This situation was completely different because we had a pandemic. It was a global, the whole planet was suffering with it. So what happened, the beautiful thing that happened is that the technologies that were developed for other reasons were applied to this just in case, because worst case scenario was doing nothing, right? So they said, let's just try it. And it worked. Technology that we're using with the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines were developed for cancer treatment. And they thought, well, let's just give it a try. They tried in animals and it worked, and it worked beautifully. The other thing is that they used computer systems to simulate how it would work, and all the numbers were great. As soon as they got authorized to use it in humans, the results were wonderful. Things that we never seen before. Again, technology had to do with it. So I still was very hesitant and reluctant to believe it because the way that I was trained, again, I graduated 28 years ago. This would have been impossible. If you told me, hey, we are going to get a vaccine in less than a year, I would say, you are crazy. I'm not going to get it. But after studying over 140 hours to understand, to see what virologists have to say, to understand the clinical studies, I came up with a conclusion that it was perfect timing, that the technology that was developed and this awful situation that we have was a great opportunity to try it. And it worked great. One of the things that would delay a vaccine trial to be even longer is the fact that you don't have that many people sick with that thing to try it, to prove it. We don't have that problem now, and that's why it got so fast. So I'm here to tell you that I research every single paper. If I show you the amount of paper that I have that I printed studying it, is a lot. And I know most people don't understand how to read those, but I did. And I can tell you, I give you my word, you can trust it. And actually, you can see the pictures because I did it. And on top of that, I have mixed the vaccine. I have had the vial in my hand and I have drawn it and get it ready for patients. I can give you my word that the vaccine is legit. And the best part, it works.
Thank you. And this is not our first SARS epidemic.
No.
Uh, so I think some of the treatments and some of the technologies that we learned along the way were also found through SARS-1.
Yeah, we had three. This is a third one, but one was in the Middle East, another one was in Asia, and this is our third one. They were not that contagious. That's why it didn't spread. They didn't spread that much, but they did cause a lot of death. As you said, the research that they did versus those viruses and the way that they could analyze how it worked, how they reproduce, that's why it took the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, as well as the FDA or the Food and Drug Administration, plus the CDC, which is the Center of Disease Control, that they gave them an idea, but it wasn't precise because it's not the same. It's like you and your sister, you're very close, but you're not the same. So it was something similar. They said, we don't need to use a mask because for those, we didn't. But then we realized that we did. Again, they're very similar, but they're not the same. And because it was brand new, we didn't understand. So it's been a lot of contradictory information. And that's part of the reluctance of the community to say, well, is this time true? Are you kidding me? Are you joking? Are you going to change your mind again? What are you doing? And just to defend them a little bit, but I'm on your side. They didn't know. We needed to see. We needed to try. And now I can tell you, and actually I said it on my podcast, I did a couple of episodes just for that, and Spanish and English. And then I said, don't worry about the mask, it's fine. And then I did, you guys, get the mask, The thing is important. So it's a new thing. It's a new thing that is not that new, but this version is just awful.
Yeah, so contagious. Yeah,
It is.
compared to
Now the new strands are even more contagious. So yes, it is a bad thing.
Can you tell us a little bit about how the immunocompromised community should address the vaccine? I know there's quite a few people in some of the Facebook groups, the online autoimmune support groups, that are just really saying, no way, I don't want to flare up. I don't want to relapse with my autoimmune disease. I don't know if I should get it. Even if my physician told me to, I'm just really concerned. What can you say about that?
Well, I would say good thing that you're protecting yourself. I applaud that. Now, this vaccine is different. And this is what I need to say. The vaccines prior to this two mRNA vaccines, which is the way that it works, is that they had parts of the virus. And they said, they call it attenuated, which is that they make them dumb, like they cannot reproduce. And then they have killed viruses that are being used as a vector or as a transportation system to get through the immune system and for it to work. Basically, the vaccine, what it does is to tell the immune system that you have working. This is the checklist of what we need to check for, and this is the wanted poster. If you see something like this with these characteristics, that's what we need to attack. But as soon as the immune system detects something new, the immune system is like, we don't care who you are. You're going to stay there, and we're not going to let you go. And then the immune system said, but hold on, talk to your bosses because I'm legit. So they go to the ganglia that are here. They inject you in your arm. They go to the ganglia here under your jawline. And there's colonels, the captains, the generals of the immune system. And they're like, what's going on? And the soldier that is, protecting us all over. They say, well, we just saw this thing and he's saying that it's a good guy, but it looks like a virus. What do we do? It looks like a virus. It's not it. It looks like a virus. If it was a virus, the immune system would attack it immediately. But because it's not, they just kept it like we're not going to let you move. We're going to monitor you. Once the immune system, the cells that got the message from the vaccine gets it to the ganglia, which is where the big bosses are, and they study it and they understand what's going on and they read the message and they say, well, you know what, this looks pretty legit. It means that we're getting an SOS message that something really bad is happening. We need to protect this body from it. And they have a checklist and they have a wanted poster. So you know what I think is legit. Let's just let it in. And what happens is that those 2 days that they're studying the information that the vaccine brought, you have inflammation in your ganglia, you feel a little bit fatigue, and it's because your immune system is working and is trying to get you safe. But then after the vaccine is clear by the big chiefs in the army of your immune system, then everything goes away. I got those symptoms. What it is the vaccine is telling all the T cells or the IgGs, which are the first IgM and IgGs, which are the first cells of the immune system that are protecting you against it. Basically, it just grabs the virus and says, you're not going to reproduce, period. And if it dies, it dies. Then you don't have more. The problem is the reproduction. And this thing reproduces by 100-fold every 10 hours. I don't know if you've seen the picture of the virus, but it's a circle, like a ball shape, and it has a bunch of spikes on it. Each one of those spikes has the blueprint to reproduce one more virus. So from one virus, you can get 100. And for those hundreds, you get 10,000. When 6 days pass, then you have a disease. You have so many on you that you have symptoms. That's why they tell you to wait 6 days to see if you have the symptoms and to detect it by a test. So how is that important for the autoimmune community or the immunosuppressed community? If that is what the vaccine does to help you, and then within the checklist, it is also the strategy of how to kill the virus. If you don't have that, your already depressed immune system is not going to win against this thing, because healthy people have not been able to fight it. It would depend on something called viral load that I will talk about in a little bit. But I just want to make sure the autoimmune or the immunosuppressed community understands this. Your immune system is not in a good shape to start with. So if you have this virus that is going to reproduce in millions and millions in a matter of days, your immune system is going to be overwhelmed and it's not going to be able to help you. Now, if you have a vaccine that is not the virus, that is not part of it, is simply a synthetic copy of what the virus looks, plus the message for the immune system that has, number one, an alarm, and number two, it has all the checklists that they need to follow. So let's say that the virus enters to you, the vaccine comes in and the vaccine says, okay, this is the information. The virus comes to you and then it reproduces. As soon as it reproduces, because of the vaccine, as soon as it comes out of your cell, it starts playing an alarm. Beep, 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 beep. And they already know. And the immune system comes over and they said, I have this poster here. Let me see if you are this. Oh, you look like it. You have this, you have this. Check, 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 check. You are the bad guy. We're going to kill you. And within days, within a couple of days, the autoimmune system, whatever you had left, or all of it, if you are not an autoimmune person, will destroy it. If you don't have that checklist, if you don't have that tool to identify, or the poster that I'm trying to express like that, to identify this virus, there is no way that your immune system is going to defend your body that fast. They would take days to do so. And that is enough for the virus to be so many numbers that it's going to, attack you in a really bad way. So why is it safe for the autoimmune community or for the low immunity people? Because your immune system is already depressed, and because this is not the virus. This is not something that is going to attack your immune system. On the contrary, it's like an ally that is saying, we already saw the people getting really bad. We don't want you to do that. So here's the information. Don't let it happen. And then that's the first vaccination, the first dose that does that. Everybody gets informed. Everybody got the information, the poster, and the checklist. The second dose, 21 or 28 or 6 weeks later, depending on the vaccine, what it does is like, hey, you guys, do you remember that I told you about this virus that is coming that could kill us? And they would say, yeah, we do know. Did you tell everybody? And then they're going to say, oh, we forgot the T cells and the IgGs. Let's just thank you for the reminder. We're going to let them know. And it takes about 21, 25 days for the IgGs to be active after the IgMs already worked, which means the IgMs are the ones that are going to prevent the reproduction of the virus at the beginning, but then you need the immunity that is going to last longer, and those are the ones that are active then. That's why the second dose is very important, because it's the long lasting. The first dose is to protect you for a few months, but the second dose is to protect you for at least 1 year. We don't know yet. The people that started getting vaccinated started in May. So the expectation and the systems that they run to kind of have an idea say that it's at least 2 years. We are not saying 2 years, we're trusting one. Like the flu vaccine that you get it every year. So every year you get a booster that is going to kind of tell your immune system, don't forget about this guy because this guy is really mean. And then here's the poster, here's the checklist. The other thing that they're planning to do, now that I'm saying that, is that every year, because we have different strands, what they're trying to do is to get the information and insert it in the new vaccine. So you're going to have the 2021 vaccine, because the ones that we're using now were created in 2020, right? So they're going to be added whatever they detected for the new strands or the new mutations. So the new vaccines are going to have what it has from the beginning, right? From the original virus in Wuhan, plus the ones that they developed like in the UK and South Africa, in Brazil, we have another one. And I know we have one in the US. The thing is that we don't do tracing, and that's what we haven't found out. So I can guarantee you that you will not have a flare up, that you're not going to have an it's not going to attack your immune system, and you're not going to have an anaphylaxis reaction either. So if you do, we will treat it. That's not an issue, the anaphylaxis reaction. But if I had an autoimmune disease, or if I was immunosuppressed, I would definitely, with the approval of my physician and with the supervision of people that know my disease, get the vaccine and be observed. When, just so you know, for people that are not aware, because I know the information have been so poor, that is sad. That's why I'm doing this, trying to help them know that they know that I exist, but I'm doing my part. Whenever you go to a vaccination, what they call PODs, which is places of dispensation, is places where they're vaccinating people, masses. I mean, they're doing it in stadiums, in big places, right? They have different lines, and there is always at least 1 or 2 lines for those that are high risk, which is an autoimmune person, somebody that had an anaphylaxis reaction before, somebody that might have been treated for diseases that are not the usual ones. So they are considered high risk, and they always have a physician there. They get vaccinated, and the EMS or the ambulance plus the paramedics are right there with them. And they all know, in the hospitals that are around, they know that the POD might just come over really quick with somebody that had an emergency. Plus, you need to wait at least 15 minutes before you go home, because the worst reactions happen within 5-10 minutes. If you're going to have a reaction in 5 minutes, it will be there. And you have very well trained people doing this. It's not that anybody's just grabbing the syringe and putting it in your arm. I've been in several ones working, and I volunteered, and I got it. So it's working really good. It took time, but it's working really good.
So thank you. That really is reassuring. And I do appreciate the fact that people are there for those of us who are high risk after the vaccine, that we have somewhere to be monitored for 15 minutes afterwards.
There is one more thing that I want to say in that regard. There is it's not an app, it's a service that as soon as you get your dose, they're giving it to you. You scan it with your phone. It's a monitoring system. So you put your information there. You give them the lot number, because that information is given to you when you get vaccinated. And they check on you every day, monitoring, are you feverish? Are you feeling good? Are you not able to work? So they monitor the results, because it is true, we didn't have that many people vaccinated with the trials before it started going to the public, because it's an emergency, we're saving lives, right? But they're monitoring afterwards, and we will be monitored for over 2 years. I got the checkup today for my weekly. They did it for me every day, and after a day is every week. And after 4 weeks, it's once a month, and so on and so forth. So the data is there. They're going to continue monitoring. And so far, we're close to 30 million people vaccinated in the US. It's going wonderfully. And you can see the numbers going down already in hospitalizations and of course, death.
Let's talk a little bit more about the disparities as it relates to what we're seeing in the Hispanic and Latinx and the African American community. Y quiero hablar un poquito en español, quiero platicar un poquito, vamos a platicar acerca de la vacuna y cuáles son las cosas más importantes que la gente hispana tienen que saber acerca de tomar la vacuna.
Ponerse la vacuna. Bueno, yo diría que es, en primer lugar, saber qué es a salvo, que es una vacuna seria, que es una vacuna que no te va a hacer daño. La mentalidad es, a los latinos le van a poner la mala, a los blancos no, y eso no está pasando. Yo soy farmacéutico, yo he mezclado las vacunas, yo misma, y tengo fotos en mi Instagram para mostrarlo, muy orgullosa de eso porque ayudé a mucha gente ese día, y no pasa, eso no existe. Ese tipo de cosas no pasan más. Si pasaron algún día, ya no más. Y en segundo lugar, no te va a pasar nada malo. Las preguntas que me han hecho, April, ¿me va a salir otra cabeza? I'm not kidding. ¿Me va a salir cola, rabo de mono? I'm not kidding. Y yo digo,
I
¿de
didn't
dónde
know I was
salen?
really hearing what I heard.
No,
Okay.
ma'am, yes it is. Eso fue lo que me preguntaron, o que me va a salir otro dedo. Y yo me pregunto, ¿de dónde sacaron esta información? ¿Quién te dijo eso? Alguien que lo inventó. Eso no es cierto. Nada de eso es cierto. Otras personas hablan de la,
Los extraterrestres también.
de la esterilidad,
Ajá.
de que you are not going to be able to have babies, que no vas a poder tener bebés. Eso no es cierto. Y si fuese cierto, la gente que hace los birth controls, lo que ponen la píldora para que no tengas bebé, ya lo hubiesen hecho. No es cierto. No es cierto. It's not true. And the last thing is that it has a chip that is going to monitor you. Es que tiene un chip que te va a monitorear porque Bill Gates quiere saber dónde estás tú. A ese señor no le importa. Esto es lo que tiene un chip, tu teléfono. Y
Sí,
con esto
siempre.
te monitorean tu vida. No creas que es la vacuna. Además, la vacuna es tan chiquitita que no hay manera de ponerle un chip. Créeme que no.
¿Por qué es tan importante ponerse la vacuna con la gente? Culturalmente, la gente vive con mucha gente en la familia, en una casa, y
Sí.
es lo que veo, lo que vemos en mi familia también,
Y la
que
mía.
la gente, like, las primas, la
Las abuelas,
tía,
las
las
tías,
abuelas,
todos los
todos,
primos. Oh,
ujú,
todo.
ujú, y
Eso es
también
lo que...
todos se
Sí.
infectaron.
Sí, y lo que se dice es que cada vez que tú toses o hablas, sacas saliva de tu boca y el virus está en la saliva y entonces viaja como una plumita en el aire y cuando tú hablas o haces, ¡ah!, te lo tragas y el virus entra a tus pulmones y dice, esto está cómodo, aquí me voy a poner a vivir y suelta las pullitas que son las que están encima del virus, que cada una de ellas puede reproducir el virus y cada virus tiene 100. Cada 10 horas tú multiplicas por 100 todos los virus que tienes. Y entonces llega un momento en que la enfermedad te ataca. ¿Por qué los latinos y por qué los morenos?
Sí.
Porque nosotros como cultura estamos muy cerca. Vivimos muchos en la misma casa, ¿verdad? Nos visitamos unos, dependemos unos del otro, porque la tía cuida a los niños de todas las sobrinas y sus hijas. Y entonces vamos todas para allá y nos quedamos a comer, a hacer tamales, lo que sea. Estamos siempre todos juntos y cerrado, en una casa encerrada, porque hace mucho frío afuera, esto es cierto, es que estamos afuera en el patio. En la cultura de African Americans, o como los llamamos en nuestra cultura, los morenos, es lo mismo. Ellos son muy de familia, muy de estar todos juntos y eso hace que lo transmitas a tu familia. Además, los trabajos que tenemos los latinos y las personas African Americans o las personas descendientes de africanos de color, también estamos atendiendo al público de frente estamos en sitios muy apretados. Por ejemplo, si trabajas en una cocina, en un restaurante, la cocina es pequeña, no hay mucho espacio para que tengas lo que llaman distanciamiento social o social distancing.
Aire, sí.
No hay aire. Además que no rota el aire, no hay movimiento de aire que saque al virus cada vez que hablas o que estornudes o tosas. Entonces, ese es el riesgo. Y el problema es que yo recibo el virus hoy, por ejemplo, estaba trabajando y estaba limpiando una casa y tomé el virus de esa casa y voy a mi casa y duermo con mi marido. Él durmió cerca de mí y respira el mismo aire que yo respiré, se lo puse a él. En la mañana atendí a mi niño y le di un besito antes de irse al colegio. Se lo di a él. Mi mamá está cocinando en la cocina las quesadillas para el desayuno con los huevos rancheros. Le dije buenos días, mami, le di un besito. También se lo di a ella. En 6 días, toda la familia tiene la enfermedad. Y entonces los que vinieron de visita a la casa, también se los pasaste. O los que tú viste cuando saliste. Entonces, tenemos que frenarlo. Pero hasta que no entendamos cómo funciona, no lo vamos a poder hacer. Por eso yo invito a los que están escuchándome que vayan a ver mi Instagram que se llama Controlando tu propia salud. Allí tengo en lo que se llama IGTV, TV o lo que se llama IGTV. Tengo videos donde estoy contestando cada día 5 preguntas de las preguntas más comunes. Y mi podcast, que también se llama Controlando tu propia salud, tiene 2 episodios que van hasta ahora porque está nuevo. Es a brand new one. Estoy hablando del virus. El podcast no es solo para el virus, pero ahorita eso es importante. Entonces te hablo de qué es el virus y cómo funciona y cómo se reproduce. Y el segundo es de las vacunas. El tercero voy a hablar de los problemas de la distribución de la vacuna. Y así voy a ir hablando poco a poco. La semana que viene voy a tener un pediatra hablando de COVID en niños. La otra semana voy a tener un inmunólogo hablando de inmunología. Entonces voy a traer mucha gente que nos va a estar explicando con más detalles. Pero si tienes preguntas y si tienes dudas en tu cabeza, pregunta. If you have any doubt, go ahead and ask the ones that know, los que saben. Porque si a ti te llega un problema de la migra, no le vas a preguntar al que te arregla tu carro que te vaya a resolver el problema. You're not going to ask the guy that fixed your car to go get you out of jail if you need to be bailed, right? You ask the person that knows. If you need a legal information, you go see the lawyer. Necesitas algo legal, vas a ver al abogado. If you need something for your car, you see the car person. Si necesitas algo para tu carro, automóvil o tu coche, hablas con el mecánico. De las vacunas, no sabe la vecina. Your neighbor is not an expert. De las vacunas no sabe tu tía. She's not an expert. La que escuchó en Univision que dijeron que los extraterrestres, she's not an expert. And I have proofs that I am. And you can hear all the information that I can give. Puedo probarte que sé. Y te lo voy a decir clarísimo para que me entiendas. Y cualquier pregunta que tengas, just send it to me, mándamela, yo te contesto. Te contesto por el Instagram o hago un segmento de mi programa para contestarlo. Or I would just create a segment of my program just to answer your questions. Because no questions are dumb questions. Ninguna pregunta es estúpida. Ninguna. Todo es válido. Y yo me voy a ir de voluntaria a vacunar. I'm going to go volunteer to actually immunize, apply the vaccine. Because that is the moment that you are more fearful. Ese es el momento que estás más asustada. Antes de que te pongan la aguja, just before you get the needle in your arm. Ese es el momento de preguntar, ya, hold on. ¿Me va a salir otra cabeza? Y yo te voy a responder, no. I'm going to get another head? No. I'm going to get a monkey tail? ¿Me va a salir una cola de mico? No. Te voy a contestar y te voy a tratar con el cariño que te mereces. And I'm going to treat you the way that you deserve. That's my commitment with my community. And I hope, y mi esperanza es que otros hagan lo mismo. That other people do the same thing. Because we deserve to be treated well.
Muchas gracias por ayudar a la comunidad, a la gente hispana y también aquí por estar aquí
Claro.
hablar con nosotros acerca de COVID y la importancia de la vacuna. So thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing with us about how to serve the community that you are serving them, the Hispanic community in Spanish with the vaccine. And thank you so much for being here today with us on the podcast. And as you mentioned in IGTV, you've got your Spanish language help, información y ayudas acerca de controlando tu propia salud. And you have your podcast with the same name, Controlando tu propia salud. And then you also have the Legal Drug Dealer podcast in English and the website.
Yes. And also the IGTV where I produce a lot of the same information. And I just wanted to say it's called the Legal Drug Dealer because I deal drugs, but legally because I'm a pharmacist. Yes. So don't think that I do the other type of drugs. That's not what it is. And the last thing, if you allow me to say, is whenever you get vaccinated, whenever you are safe, cuando te vacunes y ya estés a salvo, sé voluntario. Go volunteer.
Thank you.
And do for others what they have done for you. Y haz por los otros lo que han hecho por ti. Porque todos necesitamos ayuda. We all need help. It's not them. No son ellos. Es que ellos. It's because them. No, be part of them. Be one of them. Sé uno de ellos y ayuda. Lleva a la señora en la silla de ruedas, limpia la mesa, haz sándwiches. Just help the lady with the wheelchair, make sandwiches, clean tables, whatever you can do to help. Lo que puedas hacer, ayuda. Just help them. Sometimes we can even be translators if we speak both languages. Podemos ser traductores y eso vale mucho. No te quedes sentados. Just don't stay at home complaining, quejándote. Haz algo. Ayuda. Sé parte de la solución, no del problema. Be part of the solution, not the problem.
Es una comunidad que nosotros queremos ayudar a nosotros, a otras personas. It's beautiful.
And we care because we know how hard it is to live in this society, porque a nosotros nos importa, sabemos lo difícil que es. Y todos nos tendemos la mano, nos ayudamos uno al otro. Y la confianza. Yo no soy mexicana, I'm not Mexican, but I think that I'm one of them because the way that they embrace me, la manera como me reciben y me ayudan y me acompañan es maravillosa, es una comunidad maravillosa. Yo me siento adoptada por la comunidad mexicana. I'm an adopted Mexican,
Yes,
and I'm
you are.
proud of that.
Beautiful. Gracias, prima.
Claro que sí, claro que sí.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today again, Marilena. We really appreciate this important conversation, and we look forward to sharing this with as many people as possible.
I would love that. And if you have any questions, don't doubt on just emailing me it's very easy, hello@thelegaldrugdealer.com. And of course, my social media. You put The Legal Drug Dealer down and you will find me. Si quieren un correo electrónico o con lo que sea, búsquenme Controlando tu propia salud. Esa soy yo. Con
Thank
gusto
you.
los ayudo. Gracias.
Gracias. Thank you so much.
Adiós.
Adios. Thank you for joining us today for this episode of the Sisterhood of Limitless Living. I hope you found this episode helpful and beneficial along your autoimmune journey. Feel free to reach us at sisterhoodoflimitlessliving.com for more information about our podcast, other episodes, and if you click on the resource tab, there's more information about resources that can be helpful for you along the journey, information, tips, and even worksheets related to our topics on the podcast episodes. sisterhoodoflimitlessliving.com. Visit us on Twitter at SL3Limitless or on Instagram at Dr. April Wellness, all spelled out. Take care and have a good day.